What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC Vegas 58. We have Rafael Fiziev going against Rafael dos Anjos.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another full card breakdown and prediction video. This week breaking down an 11 fight card at the Apex. We lost a couple fights already. We lost the David Anama, Austin Lingo fight. We lost the Jaimie Pickett, Dennis Talinian fight as well. And I'll be honest, guys. I mean, I know I'm supposed to come on here and say, oh, this card's awesome. This card's rough. This card is rough, not only from like a fan perspective, like it's hard to get excited about some of these fights, but especially from a betting perspective. I have one bet thus far. A couple other spots sticking up. This is a very, very tough card. I mean, there's some good fights on this card. Ronnie Lawrence, Saud Yakub, Kakhramonov is a very good fight to kick off the card. Looking forward to the return of Ricky Turcios. Looking forward to the co-main event, Kyle Borralho making his return as well. And then, of course, the main event. But outside of that, I mean, there's not a ton to get excited for on this card. But as always, we have fights on Saturday, so I can't complain too much. Before we get into it, guys, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. It is always much, much appreciated. Also, be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. We still have 4 cards left in the month of July. The most popular option is that $10 betting option. With that, you get access to my UFC stat model, first notice on all my bets, my betting article, betting breakdown video, Hail Mary parlay, access to Discord, and then my full card breakdown and best bet article, which I think is probably the best thing on that package there. That'll be out on Wednesday. I do have one bet already for this card, looking at a couple more. I already have a bet for UFC London, which is later in the month. That card's going to be very good as well. And then we close out the month with UFC 277. So lots of things to look forward to in the month of July. I do have to shout out the 3 winners for the 3 contests I did last week. On paper, 276 was a very good card, potentially card of the year. In terms of how it played out, it was good. I thought it was good. A lot of people complained about it. A lot of people complained about the main event, and rightfully so. I enjoyed it more than others, maybe because I had Israel Adesanya in a parlay, but I thought the card was okay. Just kind of fell a little bit below expectations. But the 3 contests, the first one, shout out to Silky B for the significant strike contest on my full card breakdown prediction video. He guessed 205 significant strikes with Adesanya and Cannonier combined. The correct answer was 206. Shout out to Silky B. Was able to hit him up. He actually told me to keep the winnings, and I appreciate that a ton, Silky B. And I also was really excited to let him know he won, because I do recognize Silky B. This guy has been on my channel for a long time, and you can also click and see how many comments somebody has, and he has like over 50 comments on the channel. So appreciate you, Silky B. Nobody's ever done that before, so it does mean a ton there. Shout out to Eric Fain. On the betting breakdown video I did, whoever had the highest odds prop that hit $25 to first, Eric Fain commented Turner by sub, as well as like 10 other people. Strickland's sub was commented like 20 times, but Eric was the first one to comment it, and he was actually the 3rd one on the entire video to comment on the video. So he won the Turner by sub, and that was the best odds there. So shout out to Eric Fain. Was able to hit him up and get him his winnings as well. And then finally, the DraftKings video, it was Max Holloway and Volkanovski DraftKings points combined, and this is very impressive. Rentik, hopefully pronouncing that somewhat right, he guessed 172.6 DraftKings points combined. The correct answer was 172.19. So he was very, very close. Shout out to him. Was able to hit him up and get him his winnings as well. So appreciate all 3 of you for participating, and congrats to all 3 there. Other than that, guys, going live on MMA Engine Friday for the Final Thoughts live stream. Had a ton of people in there last week. Going to try to keep growing that channel and that show as well. So check into that on the MMA Engine. And then live Saturday for Best Bet 1 hour prior to the prelims. A ton of people in there as well last week. And then follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. You guys have any questions? You guys want to talk? My DMs are always open. So sorry for the long-winded intro there. Had a lot to cover, but we can now get into the breakdowns. And again, this card, it's rough from a betting perspective. I think a lot of these fights are extremely sketchy. I always say like there's a 100 gambler fight on at least one on the card, and there's like 4 of them on this card. But we start off the night with a very good fight, probably one of the best fights on the card, and it's the very first fight of the night. We have Ronnie Lawrence going against Saud Yakub, Kakhramonov. We have Ronnie Lawrence, who is 30 years old, 5'8", with a 70.5-inch reach, 8-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Saud Yakub, Kakhramonov, 26 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach, 9-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and Ronnie Lawrence, opened up minus 160. He is currently minus 137. Kakhramonov opened up plus 140. He is currently plus 117. And right off the bat, we start off with a very tough fight to predict here. Basically because both these guys are freaking awesome. Both these guys I'm very high on. Let's start with Ronnie Lawrence. Ronnie Lawrence, this is a guy that in a 3-fight sample is averaging 9 takedowns per 15 minutes. It is not too often you see something like that. Maybe you see it in like a 1-fight sample, but a 3-fight sample, and 3 of those fights went into the 3rd round. 2 went the distance. I mean, this is a guy that is completing takedowns at 78%, and he has great cardio to keep up that pace. On top of that, he showed power in his last fight, knocking down Mana Martinez 3 times. And what I like about Ronnie Lawrence, not only is the takedown threat, this cardio is a weapon as well. But even on the feet, like, this guy is very good on the feet. He showed some power in his last fight. Very, very tricky to deal with just anywhere the fight goes. So yeah, Ronnie Lawrence, very well-rounded fighter. I think the cardio is his biggest weapon. The takedowns is his biggest weapon. And in this fight in particular, I think the cardio is going to be key here. Saidyokub Kakhramonov, this is a guy that's only 26 years old. And I went back and watched pretty much every single fight I could of this guy. And I'm watching fights when this guy was like 21, 22 years old. And this guy looks good then. And he's now 26. And imagine where this guy is going to be at when he's 28, 29 years old. I think this guy has a huge ceiling. He's well-rounded as well. You know, solid submission game. Very good takedown defense. Very good striking. Has a ton of power as well. He was hurting Trevin Jones with like every shot he was landing in his debut. Was able to get that 3rd round submission as well on short notice. I thought it would kind of be Kakhramonov really slowing down as the fight went on, but it was actually Trevin Jones that was slowing down as the fight went on. So very impressive debut. One of his only losses come to Umar Nurmagomedov. The other one was a 3rd round knockout loss in a fight where he kind of gassed out a little bit, ate a flying knee there. But his other loss against Umar Nurmagomedov, he gave Umar Nurmagomedov his toughest test. That was a very close fight. I think the strikes, significant strikes, were like one apart between the two. Umar was able to take him down here or there, but Kakhramonov did a very good job at getting back up. So this is a close fight. This is a very close fight. I like the striking of both guys. I think the power advantage most definitely goes to Kakhramonov. I think he could potentially hurt Lawrence. We did see Mana Martinez knock down Lawrence twice in the 3rd round, but I think Lawrence can get takedowns here. It's not like Kakhramonov can't be taken down. We saw Trevin Jones hold Kakhramonov against the cage for several minutes. We saw Trevin Jones take him down. Umar Nurmagomedov, although there's no shame in that, he took him down a couple times. I've seen him taken down a couple other times in some other fights. His takedown defense is good, but I still feel like Ronnie Lawrence will be able to implement some takedowns here. And then I think the pace, the cardio of Ronnie Lawrence is going to be key. I have seen Kakhramonov slow down in fights, especially in that Vargas fight where he did get knocked out in that 3rd round, which was a fight that did have a wrestling-heavy pace, lots of scrambles. I kind of see the same thing here. I think Kakhramonov probably slows down as the fight goes on, whereas Ronnie Lawrence, this guy can go 15 minutes, no problem, attempting 20-plus takedowns. So I slightly lean Ronnie Lawrence, but don't get me wrong, Kakhramonov is absolutely no joke. This guy is serious, and this is a seriously good matchup. So give me Ronnie Lawrence to win for the first fight of the night. Give me Ronnie Lawrence to win by decision. All right, speaking of, tough matchups, man. We have Kennedy and Nzechukwu going against Karl Roberson. We have Nzechukwu, who is 30 years old, 6'5", with an 83-inch reach, 9-3, with 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Karl Roberson, 31 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach, 9-5, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and Kennedy and Nzechukwu open at minus 125. He's now minus 128. Karl Roberson opened up plus 105. He's now plus 108. I will not be betting on this fight. This fight is it's a tough one because Kennedy, you take a look at the tail of the tape, I think that's what sticks out to most people right away. Kennedy is going to have a 4-inch height advantage, and he's going to have a 9-inch reach advantage. I mean, those just cannot be ignored. He's going to be much, much bigger than Karl Roberson. Karl Roberson's a guy that has fought at middleweight for a lot of his career. Kennedy is huge for 205 pounds. You do not often see a guy at 205 pounds with a height of 6'5" and then a reach of 83 inches. You just don't see it. This guy is has all the athletic abilities, the size, the cardio. His cardio is very good, and he has good traits about him. It's just he's somebody that we've been saying it for years at this point. He's very green. He's still green, and I don't know if he's ever going to put it together. If he does, he has the size. He has all the physical attributes. It's just I don't know. If he's that great, to be honest. I mean, he goes in there and some fights he looks okay. Some fights he looks bad. He looked okay in his last fight, in a fight that he lost, which he should have won if it wasn't for the eye pokes, but He looked better, I will say. He came out there with a little bit more urgency, but a lot of times in his fights, he's just going out there and getting his ass whooped for the first, 3, 4, and 5 minutes until his opponents slow down. And then that's when he starts to take over. He uses his cardio as a weapon, which I don't know if Karl Roberson's really going to slow down like a Danilo Marquez, who is probably cut at this point, like a Carlos Ulberg, who slowed down after the first round there. This fight's tough to call because I like the height of Kennedy, I like the reach of Kennedy, I like the cardio, I like the output. But I think Roberson is the much more skilled fighter. It's just Karl Roberson. He's so low volume. He's so inconsistent. He's so tough to trust. He's on a 3-fight skid, and he's losing to good fighters. Marvin Vettori, Brendan Allen, and Khalil Roundtree, I think. All 3 of those guys starch Kennedy. But, it's just hard to trust Karl Roberson. He's too low output for me. He's going to be at a big size disadvantage. He's going to be at a cardio disadvantage. So I think I got to go with Kennedy, but I don't know. We've seen Kennedy. Remember the fight against Da Un Jung where Da Un Jung lands I think it was an elbow to the forearm, and Kennedy's wobbling from an elbow to the forearm. I swear it did not touch his head. I went back and watched a ton of times. It did not touch his head, and he was getting wobbled. I mean, I don't know. Not sold on either fighter. This is borderline a 100 gambler fight for me. I'm not touching it. I'm not betting it. If I had to make a pick, give me Kennedy for the size, for the cardio, for the physical attributes, but I don't know if the skill's there. Give me Kennedy to win by decision. Just doing more, but this fight scares the crap out of me. All right, next we have a good fight. We have Tresean Gore going against Cody Brundage. We have Tresean Gore, who is 28 years old, 6 foot, with a 75-inch reach, 3-1, and only 3-1 in his career as he only has 4 fights. Cody Brundage, 28 years old, 6 foot, with a 72-inch reach, 7-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Let us take a look at the odds, and Tresean Gore opened up minus 105. He's now minus 129. Cody Brundage opened up minus 115. He is now plus 109. So, yeah, Cody Brundage had a very good comeback victory in his last fight against Dalcha Langabola. Gets outlanded 29-4. Cody goes for a takedown, and Dalcha kind of hurts him on the entry, and while he's going for the takedown, Dalcha's landing some nice shots to the head, and that was hurting Brundage, which is ironic because we did see the same thing when Brundage fought William Knight. He went for a takedown against William Knight. William Knight was landing some elbows and ultimately put him out. So 2 instances there where he did get hurt going for some takedowns. But yeah, Dalcha hurts him bad. I thought Dalcha was about to finish. He was so close to finishing. If Dalcha would have just kept letting his hands go, instead of shooting a double leg takedown, Dalcha, what are you doing? He shoots a double leg takedown instead of finishing the fight, which the ref was looking close. If he would have landed a little bit more, the ref probably would have stepped in. But no, Dalcha goes for a double leg takedown, and Cody Brundage jumps to guillotine, and he gets it. So, I mean, good for Cody Brundage, but I don't know what Dalcha was really thinking in that matchup. This is a very interesting fight because we have Tresean Gore, who a lot of people were very, very high on, and I actually had a bet on Bryan Battle. I liked that matchup for Bryan Battle. Bryan Battle brought it into the fight a lot of things that I liked. Bryan Battle, a very tough guy. He's very well-rounded. He has some wrestling, some grappling. Most importantly, the volume as well, and volume was key in that matchup. Bryan Battle went out there and outlanded Tresean Gore in the first round, just doing more. Tresean Gore really didn't let his hands go. In the second round, Gore starts to get going. He really lets his hands go, and he looks good. He hurts Battle twice in that second round, almost puts him out a couple times. And then the third round was kind of back and forth close to the third round there. But yeah, I like Gore. Gore is 4-1, or 3-1. Let me double check. Yeah, it's 3-1. I don't know why UFC Stats is saying 4-1, Tapology 3-1, but regardless, he doesn't have a ton of fights. He did fight on The Ultimate Fighter and put up 2 really good performances. That Urbina fight was crazy. He dropped the dude 3 or 4 times, finally knocked him out. That was a good performance, and yeah, a lot of hype on the guy. I think the hype has really just completely left the guy. A lot of people are counting out Tresean Gore, not only going forward, but in this matchup as well, and I think it's a really good matchup for him. Tresean Gore, what I really liked about him is his takedown defense. This guy is very physically strong. He can stuff a takedown. I've even seen him go for takedowns offensively in his own right and show off his offensive wrestling. But yeah, defensively, his takedown defense looks really good, which could very well be a problem here for Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage is a guy that he's not going to strike with Tresean Gore. If he does, I think it's going to be a big mistake. I think he's going to get hurt. I don't trust the chin of Brundage, and Tresean Gore hits very, very hard. I think Brundage will go for takedowns, and I'm not convinced that he does get them. Gore's takedown defense, I think, holds up. I think this does play out on the feet, and I mean, I guess Brundage could go in here and just do more than Tresean Gore. But you got to believe, like, Tresean Gore is going to hit this guy. He's going to hit him hard. He's going to hurt this guy, potentially knock him out. But I think the bigger moments are going to come from the Tresean Gore side. So, yeah, I really don't like this matchup for Cody Brundage. I don't think he gets this fight down to the mat. And if I don't think that, I think on the feet it's going to be Tresean Gore. Tresean Gore is the much, much better fighter. Of course, the one knock on Tresean Gore is the volume. The volume is not there. That's something he needs to improve. But the power is absolutely there, and I don't trust the chin of Brundage. So I'm going to say Tresean Gore wins this fight. In terms of picking a method, like, I could see a knockout. I could see a decision by landing the bigger shots. I'm going to say he knocks him out, though. I'm going to say he knocks out Cody Brundage in the second round. I just don't trust the chin of Brundage here. So give me Tresean Gore to win. Give me Tresean Gore to win by second round knockout. All right. Oh, boy. We have Antonina Shevchenko going against Courtney Casey. Shevchenko, 37 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach, 9-4, and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Courtney Casey, 35 years old, 5'7", with a 67-inch reach, 10-9, and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Let's take a look at the odds. I don't know if anybody should be betting on this fight, but we'll take a look at the odds anyway. Shevchenko opening up -160, currently -175. Courtney Casey opened up +140, and currently +150. Typically I will be looking to fade Antonina Shevchenko against somebody that's going to try to take her down. The problem with Courtney Casey is that's not really Courtney Casey's game. 19 professional fights, a lot of fights in the UFC, and she has, I think, like 3 takedowns to show for it, only averaging 0.26 takedowns per 15 minutes. I don't think that's going to cut it against Shevchenko. If I knew for a fact that Courtney Casey would go in here and try to get the fight down to the mat, I believe she's a brown belt in BJJ, I would most definitely pick Courtney Casey here as an underdog. It's just, it's not her game. It's not something she does. She doesn't go for takedowns. But, hey, if she does here, I think she has a really good chance of winning. It's just I can't trust her to do so. So if I can't trust her to do so, I think this does play out on the feet. And when it does, it's going to be Antonina Shevchenko. Shevchenko is going to be the better striker. I do actually like her striking. I think she's decent. But Courtney Casey's going to make this close. She's a tough fighter. I think it'll be competitive. She's going to throw a lot of volume in her own right, but I think skill for skill on the feet, it does go to Shevchenko. Close fight. Don't want anything to do with it, but I guess if I had to make a pick, it's going to be Antonina. It's going to be Antonina by decision. I think Courtney Casey's very tough, very durable. And I think Antonina should do enough on the feet to get this done. But yeah, Courtney Casey's going to have path to victory and with the takedowns, but I just don't trust her to use it. So give me Antonina to win. Give me Antonina to win by decision. Not a ton of interest in this fight. All right, next we have Ricky Turcios going against Aiemann Zahabi. We have Turcios, who is 29 years old, 5'9", with a 72-inch reach, 11-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Aiemann Zahabi, 34 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach, 8-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Let us take a look at the odds. Ricky Turcios opened up -185. He is now -183. Zahabi opened up +160. He is now +158. So, yeah, I mean, this is a classic case of we have somebody in Ricky Turcios who's going to go out there and he's going to do stuff. I mean, this guy is one of the most active fighters during a fight you will ever see. I think he's like attempting like 15 significant strikes per minute. And this is in fights where he's getting taken down and he's still doing stuff off his back. Like if he gets taken down, which his takedown defense isn't great, he gets taken down a lot, not only in his debut, but even outside the UFC, he's getting taken down a lot. His takedown defense isn't great, but when he is on his back, he's nonstop. He's throwing strikes off his back. He's landing off his back, elbows off his back, slaps off his back. He's throwing up submissions nonstop. He's doing something at every single point in the fight. On the feet, he's throwing nonstop. So this guy, his minute-winning ability is really good. I see a ton of holes in his game, and this will be probably somebody I look to maybe fade in the future in Turcios. His striking defense is not good. This is a guy that relies on his chin quite a bit. He's very hittable. And he has been knocked out before. He got knocked out by Mana Martinez in the very first round. So that's a concern. On top of that, his takedown defense is very bad. He gets taken down super easily. And yes, his scrambling's good. He's active off his back, but it's something you do not want to see at this level. On top of that, he's very reckless. He leaves a lot of openings, and I think people can take advantage of that in the future. So although I think there's a lot of holes in the game of Turcios, I don't know if Zahabi's going to be the guy to really make him pay there. Like Zahabi is a guy that he's a black belt in BJJ, but he doesn't have any wrestling. Could he take down Turcios? Maybe. I think it'd be wise to at least try to. But on the feet, Zahabi's just so low volume, landing 2.82 significant strikes per minute. Turcios is just going to throw so much more than Zahabi. If Zahabi wins, I think it's a knockout. Zahabi has a lot of power. He puts a lot into all his shots. He doesn't throw a lot. He doesn't land a lot. But when he does land, he lands very hard. We saw that in his last fight when he got that first round knockout. So, I mean, maybe Zahabi could knock out Turcios with how hittable Turcios is, with how reckless he is. I think that's on the table. But if this fight does go to decision, which I am leaning towards it too, I think Turcios is most definitely going to do enough to win the minutes of this fight and ultimately win the decision. Give me Ricky Turcios, the more active fighter, to win this fight. I think he gets it done. Probably 30-27. I think if Zahabi wins, it's probably a knockout. But Turcios by decision should be a very fun fight because it is a Ricky Turcios fight, and all his fights seem to be very fun. All right, this is probably the 1-800-GAMBLER fight of the week. There's a couple on this card, but this is the biggest one that I feel like nobody should be betting. Cynthia Calvillo going against Nina Nunes. Calvillo, 34 years old, 5'4", with a 64-inch reach, 9-4, 1-1, 3-1 in her last 5 fights. Nina Nunes, former known as Nina Ansaroff, she is 36 years old, 5'5", with a 64-inch reach, 10-7, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Let's take a look at the odds, and it probably should just be a pick'em, but Calvillo opened up -170. She's currently -144. Nunes opened up +145, and she is currently +124. I mean, where do I start? I mean, I just can't trust either fighter here. You really can't. You have Cynthia Calvillo, who's not only on a 3-fight skid, but in her last fight, first of all, 2 fights ago, she got knocked out in the first round by Jessica Andrade. That's, no shame in that, really, but there is shame in just getting smoked by Andrea Lee. Andrea Lee went out there and just destroyed her. She ended up quitting on the stool between that second and third round, and that was the worst Cynthia Calvillo we've ever seen. I mean, she looked washed, she looked done, and quite frankly, I'm shocked that she is getting another fighter. I thought that was going to be her last fight. I really did, especially considering she is on a 3-fight skid. She looked atrocious in her last fight. I'm shocked to see her back. On the flip side, I'm shocked to see Nina Nunes back. I really am. I thought she was done after the Dern fight. I thought she was coming back, maybe getting one more fight. She's a mother now. She's with Amanda Nunes, and I just don't know what her motivation really is for fighting. She showed up against Mackenzie Dern, and that was the worst she's ever looked. So this is such a fight that, I mean, I'm not betting on this fight. I wouldn't even think about betting on this fight. It's a clear dog or pass, just because how can you favor Cynthia Calvillo in any matchup at this point? If this was the Nina Ansaroff, like we knew of a couple years ago, it'd be Ansaroff and Nunes all day here. I think it's a solid matchup for her. I really do. Her takedown defense typically is very good. Yes, she got taken down by Mackenzie Dern. Yes, she got taken down by Tatiana Suarez, but typically her takedown defense is pretty good, which I think she should be able to stuff the takedowns of Calvillo. And I think it probably does play out on the feet. And if it does, you got to favor Nunes. She's the better striker here. But again, I question her mentality. Does she want to be here? She's now 36 years old at flyweight. I don't like that. Just a lot of red flags, a lot of question marks. But if I got to make a pick, I guess it's Nina Nunes here. I think stylistically this fight should be good, but you can't be confident in it. So I'm going to take Nina Nunes to stuff the potential takedowns if Calvillo even goes for him, because Calvillo does not wrestle really as much as she should. And then on the feet, I favor Nunes, but you can't be confident in this fight. Nunes by decision. My goodness. All right, next we have the main card. We have Michael Johnson going against Jaimie Mullarkey, and now we are getting to the good stuff because we have some pretty good fights on this main card. The prelims are but this main card is really good. We have Jaimie Mullarkey, who is 27 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach, 14-5 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Michael Johnson, 36 years old, 5'10" with a 73.5-inch reach, 20-17 and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Jaimie Mullarkey opened up +130 for some reason. I don't know why, but he's now -240. Michael Johnson opened up as a -150 favorite, and he is now -205. Another fight where typically I try to stay away from betting Michael Johnson fights. Michael Johnson, a very inconsistent fighter, whether he's winning or whether he's losing. There's a lot of matchups where you really expect Michael Johnson to go out there and win. There's matchups where they're very favorable and you expect him to win, but there's times where he does drop the ball, and he drops the ball a lot. Just in the last couple of years, he was a favorite against Clay Guida. Went out there, Clay Guida was able to kind of make it a dirty fight, take him down 3 times, lost a decision. Against Thiago Moises, Michael Johnson's outlaning this guy 27-1. Moises comes in the second round, gets him down and gets an ankle lock, submits him in the second round. Against Stevie Ray, a fight he absolutely should have won. He was a big favorite there. Dropped the ball as the fight went on. Stevie Ray ended up winning a decision. And then against Josh Emmett in a fight where he was winning every single second of the fight, winning the striking exchanges. In a fight where not a lot was going on, but in the last minute of the fight, Josh Emmett lands a big shot and puts him out. There's just been time after time, like the Darren Elkins fight. He's winning that fight until he gets finished. Like, there's so many instances where he's winning the fight up until he's not. Just a very untrustworthy fighter in Michael Johnson. On the flip side, how are we about to lay minus 240 on Jaimie Mullarkey, who, first of all, Jaimie Mullarkey just got knocked out not too long ago. He got knocked out in March against Jalen Turner. Brutal knockout. Like a very bad knockout. He's coming back way too soon here. On top of that, this guy eats punches with his face. Like, this guy has no striking defense. 47% striking defense, and he's been knocked out 3 times at this point. On the feet, like at range, it's Michael Johnson's going to have the advantage. I think Michael Johnson's the better striker here. It's just that's not how the fight's going to play out, I don't think. I think Mullarkey's going to come in here. I think he's going to mix in takedowns. He is averaging over 3 per 15 minutes. And Michael Johnson, although his takedown defense is pretty good, his ground game is very questionable. Michael Johnson's been submitted 9 times in his career. And although Mullarkey's not really a submission guy, he does have like 3 submissions on his record. I think that if Mullarkey does get this fight down to the mat, we've seen Michael Johnson make so many mistakes. We've seen him kind of give up fights at times. And I feel like Mullarkey can have success on the mat here. But even on the feet, I feel like if Mullarkey makes this kind of a dirty fight like Clay Guida did. Clay Guida, if you compare Clay Guida's striking to Michael Johnson, it's Michael Johnson all day. But, Clay Guida did a really good job of just being kind of reckless in there, coming forward, making it a war. And I think a war is going to heavily favor a guy like Jaimie Mullarkey. But at the end of the day, 47% striking defense, very hittable, very chinny. Michael Johnson could knock him out here. It's just I feel like Mullarkey definitely has more paths to victory. Mullarkey's the younger guy. But yeah, minus 240 on Jaimie Mullarkey is kind of wide there. I'm going to take Jaimie Mullarkey to win. I'm going to take Mullarkey to win. I don't know. I will say by decision, I guess. I feel like it's going to be competitive. I feel like it's going to be a war. Michael Johnson's been finished a ton, but again, he's been finished a ton by submission. I don't know if Jaimie Mullarkey does submit him. I'm going to say Mullarkey does win this by decision, but yeah, another fight it's close. It's a tough one to call, but I think Mullarkey's going to do more, and I think he's going to make this a war, and I think a war does favor Mullarkey there. So give me Mullarkey to win. Give me Mullarkey to win by a very, very fun decision. I think this fight's going to be a good one. Oh boy, we have Jared Vanderaa going against Chase Sherman. And we have Jared Vanderaa, who is 30 years old, 6'4", with an 80-inch reach, 12-8, and my goodness, 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Chase Sherman, 32 years old, 6'4", with a 78-inch reach, 15-10, and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. So a very high-level heavyweight matchup here. And we take a look at the odds, and Jared Vanderaa, never thought I'd say this, but he actually is a favorite and a decent-sized favorite here. He opened up minus 200, now minus 175. Sherman opened up plus 170. He is now plus 150. And why is he a decent-sized favorite? The answer is because he is fighting Chase Sherman, who, you take a look at Chase Sherman's run in the UFC, and this is a guy that's been cut and re-signed. I think he's been signed to the UFC 3 different times at this point. And he's on a 4-fight skid in the UFC. He's 1-7 in his last 8 UFC fights. That 1 win coming over Ike Villanueva. It's just bad. It's bad. And you can't be too excited about Jared Vanderaa, who is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Losses to Oleinik, Arlovsky, Romanov, and Spivak, which really no shame in either of those, or all 4 of those. I thought the Arlovsky fight was close, could have went either way, but yeah, this is a fight where I guess it really comes down to the game plan of Vanderaa. Vanderaa is supposedly a black belt in BJJ for what it's worth, and you take a look at him, hasn't shown it much in the UFC, but outside the UFC, when he does get on top of his opponent, he's actually very good. I like his ground and pound quite a bit. Has a couple submissions on his record. So I think if he gets on top of Sherman, the fight's over. It's just in his last 5 fights, he's completed 0 takedowns, and In his last 5 fights, he's attempted 0 takedowns. His last takedown he did attempt was against one Harry Hunsucker on the Contender Series, and he got it. So he's 1 for 1 on takedowns. If I knew for a fact that Jared Vanderaa would go for takedowns here, I'd probably max bet him in the spot, because Sherman, his ground game is just non-existent. I mean, Sherman, no shame in losing to Alexander Romanov, but there is shame to getting submitted against Jake Collier. That's bad. If Vanderaa takes this guy down, the fight's going to be over shortly after. Sherman has absolutely no idea what to do off his back. I feel like Romanov can get him out of there. I feel like Vanderaa can get him out of there with ground and pound. I feel like Vanderaa can maybe lock in a submission. If this fight hits the mat one time and Vanderaa gets on top of Sherman, the fight is over. Sherman's ground game's that bad. But I don't know if I can trust Vanderaa to go out there and take this fight down to the mat. And if this fight does stay standing for 15 minutes, it's going to be close. It really will, because Sherman, this guy is the definition of a walking punching bag. On paper, he has a 51% striking defense. Some of the worst striking defense you'll ever see relies on his chin. And you can say the exact same thing about Jared Vanderaa, a 44% striking defense on paper. Although his striking defense is lower in terms of percentage, I will say Vanderaa is a little bit more defensively responsible, and that's only because Chase Sherman does not know what striking defense is. Cardio advantage goes to Jared Vanderaa. I think that's big. Chase Sherman has about a round of cardio, and then he really falls off a cliff, whereas we have seen Vanderaa go a full 3 rounds, no problem. So I like that about Vanderaa, and I like the fact that if he does take the fight down to the mat, he is winning it. The fight will be over. I don't see Chase Sherman getting up. I don't see Chase Sherman surviving. If you can't survive against Jake Collier getting on top of you, I don't think you can survive against Jared Vanderaa. So Jared Vanderaa, if you're watching this, take this guy down, man. Take him down. But in all seriousness, if Jared Vanderaa gets him down one time, the fight's over. I'll lean towards him to do that, and I'll lean towards Jared Vanderaa to get a first round, I will say, ground and pound TKO. But if this fight does stay standing, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be greasy. But I will say Jared Vanderaa gets the fight down to the mat, gets this win. I mean, he needs a win. Both these guys do, but he needs a win. He's on a 3-fight skid. Take this guy down on the mat and finish him shortly after. Jared Vanderaa, first round, ground and pound victory. All right, next we're getting to the high-level stuff after that Vanderaa-Sherman fight. We have 3 fights left. All three of them are very, very good. We have Said Nurmagomedov going against Douglas Silva de Andrade. We have Nurmagomedov, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach, 15-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Douglas Silva de Andrade, 37 years old, 5'7", with a 68.5-inch reach, 28-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds, and Nurmagomedov is the biggest favorite on the entire card, opening up minus 225, now minus 260. Douglas Silva de Andrade opened up plus 190. He is currently plus 220. And the more I look into it, the more I like Nurmagomedov in this fight. So you take a look at the Nurmagomedov name, and they say that he doesn't have any relation to Khabib. And the same thing with his style. Like, his style is nothing like the other Nurmagomedovs you see, like an Umar, like a Khabib. Typically not getting the fight down to the mat all that much. I think he has landed 1 takedown thus far in the UFC. So landed some takedowns outside the UFC. The wrestling's there. But only has a 7% takedown accuracy thus far in the UFC. He's more so primarily a striker and a very good striker as well. This guy is very flashy. He's defensively sound. He's hard to touch on the feet. I like that. I think that's huge in this fight. On top of that, you're going to see a ton of spinning attacks, spinning back fists, spinning kicks to the body. He was able to get Ricardo Ramos out of there with a spinning kick to the body, hurt him bad. He's good. He's well-rounded. Like I said, the wrestling in the back pocket, the grappling in the back pocket, but primarily that striking, that flashy style, I really like of Said Nurmagomedov. Douglas Silva de Andrade, this guy's built different, man. I mean, this guy's 37 years old at bantamweight, and he was 36 in that Morozov fight. And this guy went out there and went to war with Sergey Morozov. Morozov hurt this guy bad in the first round. I thought Morozov was out, like, on his way to finishing De Andrade in the very first round. Andrade comes out in the second round and just destroys Sergey Morozov, dropping him 2 or 3 times, wobbling him, eventually submitting Sergey Morozov in that second round. Andrade is a savage, 28-4, and he has a lot of power, has a ton of power. I just think he's really going to struggle in this matchup against Syed. I think he's really going to struggle with the movement. I think it's going to be really hard to hit Syed. And I think if Syed wants to, I think mixing in the takedowns could definitely be in the game plan here. I like Syed to land the flashier strikes. I like him to land the higher volume as well. And I like that he's younger. Andrade, 37 years old at this point. I really like Nurmagomedov in this fight, and I like him to win it. In terms of picking the method, it's tough because I could see Nurmagomedov, with the club and stuff. I can see him if he uses his grappling, the submission could be there. I could see him, knocking out Andrade, but like a head kick or a spinning back fist or, hurting him to the body. I can see all that. I can see a decision. I can see him outworking Andrade. I can see a decision, a submission, a knockout. If I had to pick the most likely one, I guess I'll say decision, but I just really like Nurmagomedov to win this week. I'll say he wins by decision. I think Andrade is kind of knockout or bust, and it could happen. Andrade hits like a truck, but Nurmagomedov never been knocked out. He's hard to hit. I love this matchup for him. Give me Syed Nurmagomedov to win, and Nurmagomedov to win by decision. All right, 2 fights to go. We have Caio Borralho going against Armen Petrosyan. Such a good co-main event here. We have Borralho, who's 29 years old, 5'10", with a 75-inch reach, 11-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Armen Petrosyan is 31 years old, 6'2", 71-inch reach, 7-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Caio Borralho opening up -300, currently -202. Petrosyan opened up +250, is currently +172. So, I really like this matchup for Caio Borralho, but I don't want to underrate Armen Petrosyan. I mean, you go and watch a tape of Armen Petrosyan, and I kid you not, every single fight, this is how an Armen Petrosyan fight plays out. His opponent takes him down. His opponent holds him against the cage for a couple minutes, takes him down with ease. Armen Petrosyan's takedown defense is non-existent. He gets up, whether it's the next round starting or whether his opponent gasses out. Petrosyan gets up, his opponent's tired, and then he knocks him out. Like, that's how pretty much every single Armen Petrosyan fight goes outside of his last fight against Gregory Rodriguez. In that Gregory Rodriguez fight, I thought Rodriguez would go in there, being a black belt that he is, take the fight down to the mat, expose that takedown defense of Petrosyan, but it wasn't until the late second round that Rodriguez went for a takedown, and he also went for a takedown in the third, which was a big mistake of Rodriguez. I mean, in the first round, Petrosyan was able to easily outland him, and I even heard him a couple times here or there. So I'm not sure what was up with that game plan of Rodriguez. Very close fight, could have went either way, but Petrosyan did get the nod, and very good win, by the way. Rodriguez is a beast. But Caio Borralho, I like this guy's fight IQ, and this guy's well-rounded as well. He's a good striker in his own right, as is Petrosyan. Petrosyan's going to have the striking advantage. I thought it would be a little more close, but after getting into the tape, Petrosyan's striking's no joke. This guy's striking is just on another level. Although Kyle's a really good striker in his own right, I just feel like on the feet, you got to favor Petrosyan here. It's just on the mat, it's going to be Caio all day. Caio Borralho has really good wrestling, black belt in BJJ. I believe he has a judo background as well. He can definitely get fights down to the mat. And what I noticed is Petrosyan gives up his back so much. Every single time he gives up his back, Caio Borralho was very good at taking the back. I think Caio Borralho does take him down, does take his back, and either submits him or gets him out of there with a ground and pound TKO. On the feet, although Borralho has never been knocked out, Petrosyan definitely could give him his first one if he does strike for too long with Petrosyan. I think on the feet it's competitive, but like I said, you got to favor Petrosyan there. This guy's a lot of power. I like the output. His striking is his bread and butter. It's just Kyle's going to have a huge advantage on the mat when he gets it down. So yeah, I like Caio here quite a bit. I feel like I can trust him to get the fight down to the mat, and when he does, I feel like he takes Petrosyan's back and either gets him out of there with a ground and pound victory or a submission. I'll say ground and pound. And I'll say he gives Petrosyan his second loss, his second knockout loss. And I think Borralho, this is the real deal. I think both these guys are so good, but I think Borralho especially is the real deal. Well-rounded, good striker, good grappler, good fight IQ as well. Really like Borralho in this matchup. I like him to win inside the distance. Give me Borralho to get it done. But Petrosyan's no slouch. Not at all. This guy's good as well. But I like Caio in this matchup to wrestle, get it down the mat. Caio, first round finish. Let's go. Next, we have Rafael dos Anjos going against Rafael Fiziev. We have Fiziev, who is 29 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, 11-1, And 5-0 in his last 5 fights, Rafael dos Anjos. He is 37 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach, 31-13, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we have the odds here, and Fiziev is a favorite, open up -200, currently -212, and Rafael dos Anjos opened up +182, and he opened up +170, and he is currently +182. So, yeah, this is a close fight. I know, Fiziev's a very popular pick, very popular parlay piece, and I'm not so sure. I know RDA is 37 years old at this point, but my goodness, he looked phenomenal in his last fight against Renato Moicano. Just beat the brakes off of Moicano there. Could have been stopped multiple times. Looked really good. I think RDA still has a lot left in the tank at 37 years old, and I have question marks about Fiziev here in multiple aspects. So, breaking down this fight before, I was picking RDA the first time, and I said if this was a 3-round fight, I mean, sure, I think Fiziev has the takedown defense to keep it on the feet. I think he can win those first 2 rounds, survive the third, and win at 29-28. But if this is a 5-round fight, I think that changes a lot, and for a couple different reasons. Fiziev, first of all, has never seen the 4th round, has never seen the 5th round, whereas RDA has multiple 5-round fights. He has been in the 4th round. He has been in the 5th round. He's got finishes in those later rounds. He's shown good cardio in those later rounds. So, whereas we've seen Fiziev slow down in 3-round fights, RDA can go a full 25 minutes, no problem. So, Fiziev slows down in the Diakese fight in that 3rd round. That 3rd round is very competitive. I believe 2 judges gave it to Mark Diakese against Alex White. He does slow down in that 3rd round as well. 1 judge gave Alex White that 3rd round. Alex White outlands Fiziev 27-21. Fiziev able to mix in a takedown against Bobby Green. Bobby Green wins that round, clear as day. 2 judges gave Bobby Green that 3rd round. 1 for some reason gave it to Fiziev, where Bobby Green outlands Fiziev 66-43. So we have seen him slow down in that 3rd round as the fight goes on, and then he gets a finish in the 3rd round against Brad Riddell, 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the 3rd round. But if RDA comes in here with the game plan of which this is going to be his game plan, he's going to take down Fiziev. He's going to attempt takedowns. He's going to make him work. You got to make Fiziev work. You got to make him feel uncomfortable. He's not going to go out there and just strike with Fiziev at range for 25 minutes. If he does that, Fiziev's going to look -200 or greater, and Fiziev could potentially even knock him out. If RDA mixes in the takedowns here, I think he has a good chance of pulling this off. I feel like the first 2 rounds are probably going to Fiziev, but as the 3rd round hits, as the 4th round, the 5th round, what is Fiziev's cardio going to look like? Again, we've seen him slow down in 3rd rounds. What is that cardio going to look like in that late 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, especially if RDA is able to mix in takedowns and have success doing so? So on paper, you'll look at Fiziev. His takedown defense is 95%, but who's taking him down? Brad Riddell took him down. Brad Riddell was 1 for 4. Brad Riddell, I know he has some takedowns, but primarily a kickboxer. Bobby Green, in that fight, Bobby Green attempted 2 takedowns. Renato Moicano, who is a grappler, he only attempted 1 takedown prior to getting knocked out. Mark Diakese was 0 for 4 on takedowns, and then Alex White attempted a bunch of takedowns. Alex White was 0 for 11. RDA is no Alex White. RDA is no Mark Diakese. RDA is a beast even at 37 years old. So I feel like this is going to be Fiziev's toughest test just in general, but his toughest test in the aspect of RDA is definitely going to test that 95% takedown defense. RDA is definitely going to test that cardio as the fight goes on. And I think I'm going to pick RDA here to win this fight and win it by decision. I feel like early on, I really favor Fiziev early on. It's just as the fight goes on, I feel like RDA can definitely take over, steal some rounds here, make this close and competitive. And I feel like if this does go to decision, I feel like he can kind of squeak it out here. So I'm going to take RDA. I'm going to take him to win by decision. If Fiziev knocks him out early on, so be it. RDA only been knocked out twice in the UFC. His knockout losses come against Eddie Alvarez in the 1st round, and then the other one was way back in the day against Jeremy Stevens back in 2008. Other than that, his chin's held up, so I think he'll be good there. But yeah, I think this fight is competitive, especially as it goes on, and I feel like as it does go on, it does favor RDA. Give me RDA to win. Give me RDA to win by decision. All right, guys, we did it. Yeah, not the best card in the world. But there are some good fights. The main event, the co-main event, Some other good fights mixed in. The first fight of the night, good. Kakramanov, Ronnie Lawrence, that fight's great. Couple ones that I'm not looking forward to. But as always, we have fights on Saturday. Cannot complain. Hopefully keep the ball rolling. Had a okay night for UFC 276. Didn't have a ton of action. Had a slight winning night there. And I'm not going to have a ton of action for this card. But really liking UFC London from a betting perspective, and then UFC 277 from a betting perspective. So I think there's going to be some great opportunities here. But this card, kind of tread lightly. You don't want to be putting your money on Cynthia Calvillo, Nina Nunes, Jared Vanderaa, Chase Sherman. I mean, you don't want to do that. So give me a RDA to get the win here. And yeah, guys, I'm gonna head out. Best of luck. Follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Twitter, already said that. Instagram, DFS by the numbers. Sorry, guys, it's been a long day. Leave a like, subscribe. See you guys.